Hello, fellow science nerds, or cold urticaria nerds, maybe just nerds, or not nerds at all, who knows. Welcome back to Allergy Awareness Week. Today is day 2, but it's also a Sunday, so let's talk some science. I'm going to preface this with cold urticaria is under-researched and research is underfunded, so I don't actually have all that many answers, probably more questions. But let's talk about some of the ideas that scientists have for why cold urticaria exists. Let's address point number 1, that cold urticaria is an autoimmune disease. Not actually sure that that's true, because I cannot find a single paper that suggests that cold urticaria itself is an autoimmune condition. I don't tell people that it is, because it's kind of an allergy, but not a true allergy, but we don't call allergies autoimmune diseases. We don't call asthma an autoimmune disease. It's an allergic disorder, unless you have non-allergic asthma, in which case it's a different kettle of fish. So I can't find any papers that say cold urticaria is an autoimmune disease, but I found many that say it is immune system related. See, it's already getting complicated. Just because it is an immune system issue doesn't make it an autoimmune disease. But also saying that, cold urticaria can be secondary to, i.e. caused by, an autoimmune disease, but that still doesn't make it an autoimmune disease. It's complicated. If you have a doctor that's told you it is an autoimmune disease, go with that, rather than what I'm saying. But here is what I found doing a PubMed, Science Direct, Journal of Immunology, Dermatology, and did I use an allergy journal? Probably did. All of my references will be down in the description below. I will provide links where I can, and when I can't, it will be Harvard referencing. So let's start with the immune system version, because I've already touched on that. I could probably turn this into an hour-long lecture, but I don't want to edit that, so this isn't what that's going to be. I think it'll help if you have a basic understanding of science and immunology, but if not, you should be able to follow along. I will try my best. If you have any questions, put them in the comments section below, and while you're there, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. So, without further ado, let's actually get on with it, so this isn't the world's longest intro. Some studies have suggested that cold urticaria is modulated by anti-IgE antibodies of the IgG type. Confusing. IgG and IgE are types of immunoglobulins, which are antibodies. So there are 5 types of antibodies, called IgG, IgM, IgD, IgA, and IgE. No particular order. Anti-IgE antibodies are antibodies made of IgG that recognize our own IgE antibodies. So we have these antibodies that are recognizing other antibodies that we make. So these antibodies recognize our IgE, and they do what we call sequestering, or they attach to them and make them into little clumps, so they can't really do anything. So IgE on its own will stimulate mast cell degranulation. So an IgE that's just floating around will join onto our lovely little mast cell, like this, and say, hey, have an allergic reaction. And then our mast cell will release all of the stuff, so histamine, causing our urticaria and any other allergic reaction that you have. When we say cold urticaria is mediated by these IgG antibodies, we can't say it for sure, because we haven't put the research in. But there is research to suggest that in cold urticaria, the bonds between this IgG and this IgE are weaker and weakened by cold. So when we are exposed to cold, the IgG cannot hold on to the IgE anymore. So it lets go, and then the IgE is free to attach to our mast cells and be, hey, have an allergic reaction. The reason why these IgG antibodies are weak? Completely unknown. Whether that is actually the cause of cold urticaria, also unknown. But that is one of the theories that I have come across. There is a treatment called omalizumab. Drug names are hard, but the brand name I think is called Xolair, and it is an injection of a monoclonal antibody, a specific one, that I guess sops up all of your IgE. So if your cold urticaria is IgE mediated, you might be a good candidate for Xolair. Again, research has not been done enough to say for sure. So until you can suggest that cold urticaria is IgE, you probably will have to fight to give Xolair a go. Point number 2 is a condition called Muckle-Wells syndrome, which is an auto-inflammatory disease. It's not quite autoimmune, auto-inflammatory, they are different, not this video. It is a form of cryopyrin associated periodic syndrome, and yes, I had to read that, I am sorry, known as CAPS, and it's basically diseases that respond to temperature. There's many of them. I will put a link down in the description below. Some symptoms of Muckle-Wells syndrome are joint pain, abdominal pain, recurrent fever, pink eye, and progressive sensorineural hearing loss. There are more diseases that are specifically associated with cold urticaria, but again, the research is not there to say how those diseases cause cold urticaria. So, moving on. Third comes from the National Institute of Health. They have identified a genetic component to cold urticaria outside of the conditions in point 2. It is a mutation in the gene for phospholipase C gamma 2, which is basically an enzyme involved in the activation and deactivation of the immune system. So this genetic mutation causes the immune system to not shut off properly, which, long story short, causes cold urticaria symptoms. The mechanisms for that were not described. Helpful. See, if we knew the mechanisms, we would have a shot at being able to treat it better. And yet, here we are. I was a proper nerd with this, and I critiqued the study. So some positives of the study is they did find a disease-causing mutation, which is always helpful, and hinted at treatment routes in the future, which is also really good. However, it had a really small sample size and only focused on familial cold urticaria. So they only studied within families. So yes, that helps with the whole finding a disease-causing mutation, but also that is a really small subset of cold urticaria. And this genetic component doesn't account for acquired cold urticaria, which can happen from bee stings, medication, certain viral or bacterial infections, autoimmune diseases, or why ever I have it. Not really sure. But it's not mast cell activation disorder. More on that up there if you are interested on why I don't have that. The science of cold urticaria arguably doesn't really exist. We have ideas on why it happens, and we have kind of links in people. So one study found that 50% of the cold urticaria patients they tested had these auto IgE antibodies made of IgG, but the other 50% didn't. So that kind of hints at more than one cause, which maybe the other half had the genetic mutation. Who knows? But without the mechanisms behind it, we can't say for sure why only 50% of cold urticaria patients had these antibodies. And we can't definitively say, yes, it's genetic, yes, it's autoimmune, yes, it's a true allergy, yes, it's immune system related. Actually, no, we can say that one because that's how it works. I understand that this is not a very helpful video, but science Isn't that helpful? That one's not on me. Will I continue to look into cold urticaria in scientific journals? Yes, absolutely. If they bring out a paper in 2020 about cold urticaria, I will make an entire video dedicated to it and I will be very excited. I hope that's given you some insight into why we don't have the answers, but what answers and ideas that we do have. So, don't forget to like this video. I hope it's been at least interesting, if not helpful. Drop a comment down below if you have any questions, any studies you want me to look at, any studies you have that say something other than what I've said, all down in the comment section below. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already and ring that notification bell so you get notified every single time I post a new video. Videos go up every Saturday at 6 PM UK time with at least one bonus video every single month, except this month, or this week, because it's Allergy Awareness Week and you're getting one video every day for 7 days. See ya, Rare Disease Clan. Woo-hoo.